Did you had any other sources before? Like,
I was spending maybe like $1,000 a month, but I was doing over a few months and like I just wasn't getting any results.
man, I'll give you credit. I hear a lot of guys that work in sales, they have a lot of success.
So I think the tonality that you use makes a huge difference.
We need more secrets from you, man.
All you need is steady flow of leads.
Completely agree with you on this. Hey guys, this is Yuri again with iSpeedToLead and Deal Speed, and I'm very excited to have Ryan today, who closed some of the great deals with us, having a pretty good success. But more than that, we're looking for some advice from Ryan, who just started actually 3 months ago and already started closing deals. So we want to get his secrets so he can share it with us and how he closes deal. Man, nice to have you here. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself? What's your background, where you are, and how did it all started?
Well, my name's Ryan Binion. My company is called Dallas TLC Home Buyers. I started, really only buying leads about 3 months ago. But before that, I worked in sales, financial sales for a little bit. I was also a union iron worker. So I went from like construction, sales jobs. I mean, I did like a little bit of everything. I was really looking for some sort of business that I could do where I didn't have to work for somebody and where I could set my own schedule, and then where I could just talk to people on the phone and close deals, but make a big amount. The problem that I had with the other sales job that I was doing is I was like number one in the whole department that I was in sales, but I was only making like $5,000 a month. It was dumb. It didn't make any sense. So I thought that I should be getting paid a lot more for my skills. And I kind of stumbled on wholesale real estate I saw like an Instagram reel of a guy that said, oh, you can get this property under contract and then you can assign it to a buyer. And he was beside this ugly house. And I don't know what intrigued me about that, but I paid for his like $50, not very good course. But the idea was enough for me to really dive into it. And I just watched YouTube videos for hours and hours. I spent tons of days just researching, figuring it out. And yeah, that's how I got started.
Say it again, where are you based?
I'm in Vancouver. So I'm doing
Washington?
it virtually over the phone in Vancouver, but my market's
Canada.
Dallas, Texas, in DFW.
Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
Guys, we have the international guy who's closing deals in the United States, been doing this for 3 months. But man, I'll give you credit. I hear a lot of guys that work in sales, they have a lot of success. I don't know, it's not a coincidence. I just think there is something when you have this ability to pick up the phone and close some deals. I just saw so many guys had previous experience getting into this wholesale real estate and doing very well. And completely agree with you on this commission structure thing. That's why I'll give shout out to our owner, Gene Blinko, for really good commission structure that allows us to just the more you grind, the more you earn. Thank you, Gene. I'll just say that. But
yeah.
And that's why we don't wholesale ourselves. We're all right. But no, man, that's great. So how did it all start? How did your first calls go? I mean, I guess I'll be asking more questions on that. So you studied. So what was the next thought process? Like, hey, I need to get leads. I need to get CRM system, LLC. Like, what was that about?
When I first got started, I didn't really, you're starting from base one. You don't really know what to focus on. So you can really get lost in terms of like, oh, I need this CRM, or I need this software, or I need this and that, when really all you need is leads. At least at day one, all you need is steady flow of leads. So I was trying to do it like nationwide. So I was going multiple markets, doing Facebook ads, Google ads, all this stuff. And it just wasn't working out. And I was having a really hard time, selling the deals. And again, I was brand new. I didn't know what I was doing. So what I ended up doing, which worked really well for me, is I partnered with a Dispo company in Dallas. And then all I did was PPL. I just bought leads that were inbound leads that wanted to sell. And what I would do is once I talked to the seller, I know what price they wanted at. I would go to the Dispo company and I'd be like, hey, is this price good? Did I comp this property correctly? And they would kind of like slowly train me. And the reason why they were okay with training me is because I'm bringing value. I'm bringing the deal, right? So once I got under contract, then we would split it. So instead of paying for mentorship, they were kind of teaching me along the way of how to comp properties properly and, which areas sell for this price and X, Y, Z. And I found that a really effective way as soon as I focused on one market and then focused on working with that company, that's when I started doing really good.
Okay, and that's a different perspective. We just had a couple of guys that are doing things virtual in different states, but always cool to listen to different approaches. So, can you disclose the name of this company, or you'd rather
Yeah,
not?
it's RFP Homes. They're in Dallas. They're Dispo only company. They have a what's it called, a Discord group as well, and they're the best company that I've ever worked with for sure, because I can just submit a lead to them. I don't even have it under contract yet. And they have their team will comp the deal, look at what it needs to be at. So say, for example, there's a property owner and they're like, I want $100,000 for the property. I negotiate down to like 80,000 or 70,000. And then I go to the Dispo company, they'll look at the numbers and be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. You need it at least this price. And then we can just negotiate what the split's going to be, basically. So I don't even have to have it under contract before I send it to them.
That's great. So tell us more about iSpeedToLead. I mean, that's what we want to know. So how did you find iSpeedToLead, and how did it all start? Did you have any other sources before? Like, how was your this lead generation path to iSpeedToLead?
Well, first I did like Facebook ads because I had done some e-commerce. I tried doing e-commerce and having little online stores before I got into real estate. So when I got into real estate, I'm like, okay, well, let's just do some Google and Facebook ads. But I was doing it nationwide in multiple markets, and I would get leads, but I don't know. I didn't have any money. I was in school at the time. So I was just like burning through money on my credit card. And then even if I got a deal under contract, they weren't selling. Like, I think my first like 5 deals or 5 to 7 deals, like I got all these contracts, but none of them would sell. So that's why working with that Dispo company was so helpful. So I was trying to figure out a way to generate leads at the lowest cost possible. And then when I switched to just the Dallas market, I noticed that, okay, like I'm just going to focus on Dallas. I'm going to use a Dispo company. But now the Facebook or Google ads or any of that stuff, all of a sudden the cost per lead goes up to like, $500 or $300 or whatever. It goes up quite significantly. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do that's going to not cost a lot of money and still get inbound leads? I tried a little bit of cold calling. I tried basically everything, but most of them didn't work very well. But as soon as I started doing, iSpeedToLead, the pay per lead, that's what worked the best for me, because I could actually choose the type of lead that I wanted. So with iSpeedToLead, you can often just, I paid extra so that I can view the lead. So it'll be like, 500 to 1,500 square feet, facing pre-foreclosure, wants to sell immediately. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to decide to buy just that lead. And that's what I really, really like about the software, is I can pick exactly what type of lead I can buy.
That's awesome to hear. Do you mind me asking just clarifying question? So you ran your own advertising. So how much do you feel like you spent?
Quite a bit. I mean, I don't think I was spending maybe like $1,000 a month, but I was doing over a few months, and like I just wasn't getting any results. So like I didn't see any progress that was being made. So I was like, this is just not really working out.
And what about cold call? Because you mentioned you're in sales. Actually, I'm kind of curious to see from your perspective. So what was the biggest challenge you felt like? Because I feel like if you're a sales guy, if you're not in sales, doing just cold calls, it's like way harder. But you had experience in sales. You have experience in sales. So what was the biggest thing when you tried to do it, and in comparison to, yes, you can pick leads, and we're going to talk about iSpeedToLead next.
I'm a very impatient person. It's very hard to just like sit there on the phone, just like waiting, like to get to somebody that's like even answers, even if you have a triple line dialer, to get to somebody that answers and says hello and it's the right number, that could take like 15 minutes just of you sitting there. So I'm sure I probably could have done fairly well with cold calling, but it's very time consuming. Yeah, if I'm going to do cold calling, I'd rather have VAs do it. And then if you're going to have VAs do it, then you got to manage the VAs. You got to pay for the software. You got to pay for the skip tracing, the dialer, and you have to manage them. And, that's a whole other complicated thing. And honestly, if it's just in Dallas, for example, cold calling isn't that much cheaper than just buying leads. You know what I mean? It's not that much cheaper, because when you pay, for example, if you're skip tracing 10,000 records, let's say that's like $1,000 to $1,500, and then you're paying a couple $100 for a dialer, and then you got to pay $200 a week for one cold caller. And let's say you get 7 leads a week. I mean, it kind of equals out somewhat to the same. So I just thought buying a lead would save a lot of time, and at least I don't have to spend hours just sitting there on the phone talking to people that don't really want to sell.
And that's one of the common things, especially waiting. I kind of mention that all the time, that it's about time and not even like getting hold of somebody who might be interested and getting somebody actually to this finish line of actually closing the deal and getting the profit. It just takes way longer with cold calling, I think. And that was actually mentioned by another person. His name is Hans. To be another video with him too. He was mentioning, hey, it's up to 60 days if the person is motivated on the cold call. iSpeedToLead leads, for example, he mentioned I can close like as fast as 2 weeks. So 2-3 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. And your cash on cash return is a big, big deal, especially when you're new. Let's just say you have 3 cold callers, let's just say you're getting like 1 to 2 contracts or whatever a month, or let's just say 3 contracts. By the time you actually close a deal, that could be 90 days. So you got to pay for like marketing, your cold callers, the skip tracing, all of that for 90 days before a deal closes. Or you could just buy leads, and then, within 32 weeks, anywhere from 2 weeks to like maximum 60 days, absolute maximum, you're going to get paid. I personally would rather just pay for speed and convenience. If I can just spend more money and more deals come in faster and they're better deals, I don't mind spending the money.
Is there a minimum wage thing in Canada?
Yeah, there's a minimum wage in Canada.
I used to work in manufacturing industry, like with plumbers, water filtration, and everything was charged hourly. Trip charge for parts. If they forgot a part, they need to go back or go to Home Depot to pick up the part. They will still charge it for this time and all this type of stuff. I get to real estate, everybody is fine calling like for 2 months, not getting any deals, and pay for some, all the different things and still not closing deals. I'm like, I'm just not getting this. I'm biased, yes, but there's just so many. I think time is very underappreciated thing in real estate, and sounds like you figured out it fast. So let me ask you about iSpeedToLead then. So your first experience, how did it all start? So tell us a little bit more about this, and what kind of leads you called, and which one do you like the most, or anything what you could share.
Well, when I first started using iSpeedToLead, like in the beginning, I think I did have Coupon Club for the first like month or so, and I was just getting like $29 leads, and I was still doing multiple markets, so I was buying them in like Ohio and Georgia and Arizona, kind of all over the place. And then I started slowly working with that company and really focusing in on Dallas. And then I started buying, some of the different packages that you guys had where I could get a certain amount of, exclusive leads for a certain price. And that's when things started, really working out, because it also gave me the ability to be, like I mentioned before, view all of the leads before I buy it. So, say I'm able to get 10 exclusive leads for whatever package I got, I can specifically choose which 10 leads I want to talk to. So I'll get an email from you guys and it'll say new lead in Dallas. I'll look at it. And if it says like pre-foreclosure, wants to sell ASAP, vacant house, I'm buying it for sure. Cause I know, every 1 in 10 of those I'm for sure going to close, or every 1 in 10 or every 1 in 15. Even if the lead came from, cold calling, or cause I know it's multiple sources with you guys, as long as it fits the requirement of like, they're motivated, it just needs work, and they have some sort of motivating factor. That's what I really like about the software, being able to choose.
So let's talk about numbers a little bit. So how many deals you closed so far with us? What's the biggest deal? And tell us more about that.
The biggest deals that's been fully closed is one I think it was last month. It was for $35,000. I had to split it with the Dispo company, so I only got like 18,000, I think it was. That was the biggest one. The month before that, I had another one that was in Dallas. That was a $10,000 deal as well. And then I've got a ton of them for every month. It's been like substantially increasing. So the first month that I did, I got a deal. I think it was an on-market one, and I made like $1,500. The second month, it was an iSpeedToLead lead. That deal closed. That's $10,000. And then, the third month, That was the $35,000 deal. That was with iSpeedToLead as well. And then this month now, the amount of pending deals that I have is insane. It's crazy. A lot of them have title issues and different things that we're solving, but I think I have like 6 or something deals. All of them are 20K deals, or one of them from iSpeedToLead is a 200K deal. So it's just kind of exponentially growing every month. And I don't have a team. I don't have a CRM. I don't have anything. Like, I just have leads, and I have a piece of paper that I write down notes on, and I have my cell phone, and that's all. It's crazy that you can make that amount of money, or even have potential to make that amount of money. Is absolutely insane. I can't believe it. And I'm getting paid in American, which converts to like 30% more in Canadian currency. So it's just a win-win for me.
That's crazy. And just for me to clarify, 200K assignment fee. It's not innovations. It's not fix and flip. It's just wholesale assignment fee.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Because I'm working with that Dispo company. It hasn't closed yet, so we're still working on it. Like, we found a buyer and everything for it, but it just hasn't closed yet. It was a deal in Dallas. I had followed up with this lead so many times. We looked at it like 5 different times, and we didn't think it was a deal, because I was giving it to the Dispo company. I'm like, hey, like, I think this is a deal. Like, should we get this one under contract? And they were like, I don't know. And there was like this one girl, Heather, at the Dispo company that saw it. She's like, oh yeah, for sure, get this one. And we got it, and they posted it for like 200K higher, and it sold within a few days. I don't know how she posted it. I think she posted it as a land play, because there were some new builds down the street that were selling for, I think they were selling for like 2 million or something like that. And we had it for like 300K, and she posted it for 500. So yeah, sometimes you just got to have, it's good to have people that you can work with, and like people that can help you. Because if I was just doing this on my own, I would have not seen that type of value. But because that Dispo company is working in Dallas, like that girl Heather in the Dispo company, she's been doing this for like 15 years in real estate. So like, I don't have the experience to be able to look at a deal. I can see that, okay, based on the basic formula that everybody knows, I can see that, okay, maybe that's a deal. But sometimes you can pay way more for properties if it's in a certain area, which is very hard for me to calculate, not knowing all the areas of Dallas. So that's why I think it's really important to, at least when you first get started wholesaling, not to do everything on your own. I think you should work with a Dispo company for your first few deals, just so that you can focus primarily just on acquisitions. Like, get really good and master one thing, get really good at talking to sellers, get really good at your marketing, and then kind of just have help with the Dispo and transaction coordinating side.
I guess Heather is getting some extra gifts. Hopefully it's closing soon.
Yeah, hopefully it's closing. A lot of the deals recently, I've noticed a lot of them have had a ton of different title issues. I think we have this land deal that has like 4 or 5 dead people on it. So that's another thing that's really important, is like, a lot of these deals, anything can happen. So you want to have as many of them as possible. If I was just doing cold calling or any of the other stuff, even if I had 3 deals, there's no guarantee that those 3 deals are going to fully close. So at least if you're buying leads and you're getting consistent lead flow of people that really want to sell, your cash on cash return is way faster, and the amount of deals that you can get increases, right? So you want to have as many deals as you can get, because anything can happen. You could have the perfect buyer. It could be a perfect deal, but then all of a sudden there's title issues, it might not close, right?
Completely agree. And how is the interaction with our support team? Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's been really good. Anytime I want to get a certain package or whatever, I can just text you guys. I've never heard of any type of PPL company where I can just like call someone or just like text them and be like, hey, I should get a refund on this lead, or can you update this on my profile? Like, your support team is really good. Anytime I email you guys answer fairly quickly. And the fact that I can even just text you guys is pretty crazy.
And we appreciate that. Let me ask you this. So we need more secrets from you, man. Are you buying both exclusive and non-exclusive leads, or you mostly stick to exclusive ones?
I'm buying all statuses of leads. I want them all. In my opinion, I think it all equals out to roughly the same price. So if you're getting sales status leads that have been called anywhere from like 1 to 3 times, for example. They're still good. They're still people that want to sell. And say you're getting them for $29 each and you got Coupon Club, for example, it's still probably going to have to buy a certain amount. Like say you're going to have to buy like 20 or 50 of them. Whereas with exclusive leads, they cost more, but maybe you'll probably close like 1 in 10, depending on how good you are. So I think it all kind of equals out to the same cost. But with a lot of the packages that you guys offer, you oftentimes have a certain amount extra for the sales status leads. So I get a little bit of both.
My follow-up question will be on that. Do you change your script, how you call on those different leads? Like, do you adjust anything? You just stick to some more particular thing?
I don't use a script because I had the sales experience and like I could write my own scripts and I can kind of come up with something. So I kind of just come up with it in my head. But, once I start hiring people, then I'm going to create a really big script that they have to follow and everything. But for now, I feel like I can do it pretty well by just having a regular conversation with them and I can guide the conversation and close them. Once I start hiring people, I definitely need to get a script for sure. It's a different type of sale because like I used to do financial sales where people would apply to get a personal loan. And then if they didn't get the personal loan, like they were declined because of their credit, they would get sent to a credit specialist who would give them a credit building product. And that's what I would sell. So these people are applying for money and then not getting money. And we're saying, hey, you actually have to pay for this credit building product and you're not receiving any money. So those people were mad every time. They're like, I do not want to do this. They would be a hard no, and you'd have to convince them to a yes. So they'd be like, no, I don't want to do it. And then you'd have to convince them to say yes at the end. And sometimes I would close, 8 out of 10 people who are all hard no's from the beginning. Whereas with real estate, it's totally different type of sale. I've noticed like you can't really force someone to take your low offer. You know what I mean? It's more relationship building, having them trust you, being a reasonable guy, breaking down why you need to be at a certain price. So it's like a totally different kind of sale. And I like it way better because I'm not forcing anybody to do anything. They actually want to do it. They want to sell. And at the end of the transaction, once we fully close, they're always so happy. So I really like wholesaling real estate way better than any kind of sales job that I've ever done before, for sure. It's a much easier sale.
Do you mind sharing how your opening script sounds like? Let's imagine I'm the homeowner, Yuri from Dallas, and I have emergency reasons. It says 1 month ASAP, year of construction is regular cosmetic repairs. So how does it typically sound? And does it change if it's exclusive or non-exclusive?
It doesn't change. It's normally just a straight normal conversation. I'll just be like, well, it depends where I got the lead from a little bit. Sometimes what I do when I first start the call is I try to act really confused because I don't want to hop on the phone and be like, hey, this is Ryan with Dallas TLC Homebuyers. How are you doing? Like, I don't do that because they're just they think that you're a telemarketer or they don't even fully hear what you're saying yet. So they kind of just, they might just hang up or they're just on guard and you have to like slowly lower their guard, which I don't want to start off any kind of call that way. I'll actually try and confuse them a bit. I'll be like, hello, Mark, is this Mark? And they'll be like, yeah, this is Mark. Who's this? And I'll be like, oh, this is Ryan with Dallas TLC Homebuyers. I was just calling about the property on 123 Main Street. Looks like you submitted your information saying you were interested in selling that property, possibly. Is that true? And like the confused tonality that you give, I find, in my opinion, it makes them want to answer you because it's kind of like human nature to like if someone sounds confused, you kind of want to clarify. You want to be like, well, yeah, I did fill out the information. This happened. Whereas if you come on the call and you're just like, hey, do you want to sell your property? They're kind of be like, no, I'm not interested. But if you sound confused, they're kind of like, well, yeah, I did fill out that information. So I think the tonality that you use makes a huge difference. So sometimes I'll act very confused. And then once I've kind of lowered their guard and they said, yes, I do want to sell, then I'll start asking them, like, what can you, an open-ended question, which I learned from RJ Bates, which would be, what can you tell me about the property? I don't ask about the condition or anything, just like, what can you tell me about the property? And that's when they start just explaining this. They might just explain random things. They might be like, oh, I got it back in 1992 and, you know, it needs work, or I have a tenant or whatever. And they'll just start explaining random things. And that'll give me time to pull up the property, look at any photos that are online, start comping the deal, start seeing what properties are selling for. And then I'll start asking more specific questions like, what's the condition? And when I say what's the condition, oftentimes the seller will start telling me all the positives about the house, like, oh, I got brand new countertops or this and that. And so you really want to kind of clarify, well, no, tell me what's wrong. Like, I buy properties that need work. So is there anything that I can do to update the property? Or if it's a 1950s build, I'd be like, what's the vibe inside of the house? Is it a 1950s vibe? Because oftentimes sellers, they're not thinking the same way you are. Like when I say fully renovated, I'm thinking like HGTV, like brand new renovated, you know, marble countertops. That's fully renovated to me. To them, fully renovated, in their opinion, could just be that there's no repairs needed. You know, like there's nothing broken. It's just like maybe they have laminate flooring and it just looks kind of decent. To them, that's fully renovated to a lot of these sellers. So you really have to like dive deep into all the little things. Another question that I'll ask them is like, how much do you think the repairs would cost? And oftentimes they'll say like $5,000. And I'll be like, you know, in my opinion, if I had to do this, X, Y, Z, and this, it's actually going to have to cost, you know, $50,000 in my opinion. So you really want to ask a lot of questions and you'll see how they calculated what price that they want for the home. And you can kind of bring them down in price just by not even giving an offer yet, but just kind of explaining all the costs involved. Another really important thing is you want to really figure out how bad they want to make a decision, if they want to sign right now. So before I even give an offer, I'll say something along the lines of, you know, if we could make this work and if we did get you the price that you wanted, are you willing to move forward right now? I want to get that commitment before I give an offer because, you know, for example, you give an offer and then all of a sudden I think they can think about it for a while. But if at least you've kind of clarified with them that we're trying to do this today, then they kind of have that in the back of their head. And another thing is I've noticed a lot of YouTube guru people, they'll have people sign contracts later. I never do that. They have to sign on the phone. I won't even send the contract unless they're willing to go over it with me, because very, very, very few times does someone sign a contract on their own, like go onto the computer, look at the contract with all these scary words on it, and then just click sign. Like people don't do that. You have to sign it with them on the phone. Even if they don't want to sign it at that minute, that's okay. But I want to at least go over the contract with them. Because sometimes people are like, oh, no, I don't want to sign right now. And I'll be like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to sign right now. You agreed on the price. Let's just go over the terms. Just look at the contract or look at the agreement, I call it. Look at the agreement and I'll just go over it with you and you could think about it. And then I'll like go over every little thing. Well, I'll be like, hey, the purchase price, you know, we're going to close on this date. This is the title company. This is their number. You can contact them. And I kind of just break everything down. So then even if they are going to think about it for the night or whatever, at least they know everything that's on the contract. So if they do decide to go and sign it, they're not like, I don't know what any of this means, if that makes sense.
It does. And another confused Stone, quick question. Do you know Jeremy Miner by any chance? You heard about
Yeah,
him,
I
right?
watched a lot of his videos, yeah.
When I first time watched him, I think the tonality is the most underappreciated thing like in sales coaching. It's just you watch like so many people back and forth, like they say this and oh, it's expensive. Oh, I understand it's expensive. It's like, what do you think it's expensive? Blah blah blah. Like closed and everybody's pressuring the guy. So that doesn't work this way in the real life. Sorry, but this is where I think Jeremy Miner thinks is important. And Jerry Norton, it's interesting. I was just watching his best call script, and he was talking about this like 5 C's or something, curious tone, confused tone, and he was like quoting him as well. But it's interesting you mentioned that in terms of opening. I always just ask you last question because it's been a while. I appreciate all the insights you share. Actually, 2 questions on the disposition side. So you basically just get the contract, give it to a dispo company, and they do everything rest. They like talk to cash buyers, like, and they do all those type of things. Or you're involved somehow in that?
They do all the disposition. They do most of the transaction coordinating, kind of. I would say I'm pretty involved in that because I just want to learn as well. So I'm like, okay, well, what are you guys doing to get buyers? Like, what do we do in this kind of situation? Like, we need to do an affidavit of heirship. Okay, what's an affidavit of heirship? You know, like you need to. I'm trying to figure out things, and I'm really on top of it. I like being in control of things. So, you know, I'm always contacting the title company, and I think it's pretty 50-50 in terms of the amount of work both of us are doing.
The last question, I ask everybody that. What's your top 3 advice for people that just start? What would you suggest?
Number one advice would be pick one market that's a good market, you know, like a major city or maybe just outside of a major city. Don't do anything rural. You know, competition isn't a big deal. I don't care about the competition. As long as you have enough leads coming in, it's not a big deal. And honestly, a lot of these wholesalers, you know, they're not that great. You can just be a nicer, kinder person and just win over the seller just from being somebody that they like more. So I would pick one market. If you're going to spend any money, which you should definitely spend money, you should put like $3,000 aside, which I think anybody can save up $3,000, especially if you're going to start a business. You know, like if you're going to start any other business, restaurant, any other business, you would have had to get thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You would have probably had to get a huge bank loan. You would have had to get all these supplies. Wholesale real estate, you just need a few $1,000s. And I think you should just buy PPL leads, and you don't need any software. Just call them on your phone and then find a really good Dispo company to sell your deals. I think that for someone brand new, if they just picked one market, bought PPL leads, and then had someone help them with the Dispo and the transaction coordinating while they learn, or at least to do their first like 1-3 deals, I think if everybody did that, they'd have way more success. I find with the new wholesalers, the biggest issues they have is either one, they're not going to want to spend money because they watch all these YouTube videos about doing everything free. And you can do things free, but it takes so much time. And investors don't really like those on-market deals. The off-market ones sell way better for way more. So it's super worth it to spend the money. So I think new wholesalers should spend some money, buy leads, pick one market, and then find a Dispo partner. That'd be my top 3 advice.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for being our client, and thank you for sharing all of those insights. Whoever is watching, I know you mentioned you're brand new, but man, what's the best way to reach out to you? Are you on socials? Like, what's the best way if people wanna pair up or like give you their leads for you to close? Like, where can they find you?
I got like no social media. I do have an Instagram. Let's see here. It's just
All right.
Ryan.Binion987.
Okay, so reach out to Ryan, guys, and if you need just Ryan's call information, I have it. So might be easier to just contact me. I'll tell you, like, go to Ryan. Like, he might give you some advice. So, but man, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for being a client. Looking forward for you closing this deal and doing more business with us. And it's been a great story. Let's stay in touch and have a great weekend. Take care.
Sounds good, man. Nice talking to you.